Let's say the client got back to us and said, "We love the idea of the arrow and the F. We're ready to move on to the next phase." If they're not ready to move on, or they didn't feel like the concept was strong, or they have some ideas for another concept, you're going to need to go back to the sketching process and start again, or to modify the current concept if they're happy with it, but they just had some ideas and changes. That's part of how this goes. It doesn't always go in this nice, perfect order. Sometimes you have to go back and repeat a couple steps to satisfy the client, and that's very normal. So now that they've approved our idea, now we need to figure out color. And this takes a little bit longer than you think, because color combinations, this can come in such a wide variety of color combinations. Which ones do we choose? How do we even start to think about color? So this is phase 6, color exploration. And remember, when we're discussing color, it has to work on a dark background and a light background now, and that's why this has 2 columns, because the color needs to work on both different situations. And so color inspiration can be found by creating a mood board, which is collecting a series of photos together that remind us of the target demographic and things that they would resonate with, and using that as an inspiration for color, bringing that into color.adobe.com and just kind of finding some color combos that way. You could look at trending colors and trending color palettes that you think would be fresh. Or you can figure it out manually by using some of the color swatches in Adobe Illustrator and just finding combinations on your own that you think would work really well. And one thing I wanted to bring up is you'll notice I don't have any drop shadows, I don't have any gradients, I don't have any bevels, I don't have any layering effects on any of this stuff. Right now the logo is still a flat logo. It doesn't have any of those effects, and that's on purpose. We're going to apply some really cool effects to this for a different version of the logo later on, but right now everything needs to stay flat, because every logo needs to be able to be a flat, simple shape. For embroidery on t-shirts, embroidery on hats, you need to have the simple logo, so it's great to start at the most simple form of the logo, and you can add details later if needed. So what I did here is, instead of going the mood board route, I did a mood board kind of just to get some inspiration for sketching, but I'm not going to use a mood board for color. I do that a lot in some other logo designs. I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to go the manual route, and I'm going to just pick some colors on my color swatch palettes. You can download palettes, color palettes as well. You can go into your library and look at all these different color palettes that you have access to. So you have art history, color books, all these things can be used as color inspiration for you to test out different combinations. And one of the reasons I'm going this route is I know I want to have a dark gray or a dark color for flux, and I'm really just looking for one single color for the arrow and for video. So we're not talking about a really complicated color palette. So I'm going to try some manual colors out and just kind of get a feeling of what they look like. So this is the example. I've tried out kind of a greenish blue color. Then I tried pink because I thought that'd be a very strong color for a youthful brand. I started to get worried about bending way too much to one gender over another. It's just natural when you use the color pink. So far, orange is really working out well. My only concern about orange is it started to kind of remind me of Halloween. So Halloween is naturally orange and black, and it looked a little bit too close to that. So I'm like, okay, I may need to gravitate away from the dark gray for flux. And that's when you start to change and have 2 colors now you're trying to figure out. So you have a base color for flux and a highlight color. So in this case, I thought the purple worked really well here. And of course, I'm also doing a different version here. And the only problem with the purple is when I adapted the purple to the dark background. Let me see if I can do that here real quick for you. Let's get an eyedropper tool. You notice I can't quite translate it perfectly. And so this is why you might need to have a different version for the dark color. So in this case, a white would look really, really good here. So it kind of translates a little bit better. You still have this Halloween look though, so you could even bring out a lighter purple, which is what I tried down here, is bringing out the purple. So you're just testing out all these combinations to see if they work on both environments. I even tried dark purple with a lighter purple, but I thought it looked a little bit too, it wasn't brought out enough. The concept of the arrow was hiding in a similar color palette. So these are in the same family, it's purple family, and I felt like we needed to have an opposite color to really have that arrow pop out. So continuing to play with color and finally kind of deciding on some different colors here. So we're landing on this bright orange, high contrast highlight color and a deeper purple so that we can kind of move away from that Halloween color palette that I thought was popping up when I used dark gray. So we're making some color decisions that we're going to present to the client. So what we need to do is now bring the client in on this decision-making process and say, here's the selected color palette I think as a designer, as an expert, that I think would work best with your brand. And you can present multiple pages, so do one page for each color palette. So this would be one page. And if you wanted to present another option, you can present another page on its own page with a different set of colors. But in this case, we're just going to present the one page because I feel very confident about these color choices because I've worked through a lot of other color combinations already. So what we want to do is we want to present this in a really professional way. So one way to do that is to get our hex codes, our RGB, and our CMYK ink colors set up. So what we're going to do is we selected this is our vivid purple, and I like to name colors too as a part of kind of the branding process there. So we have vivid purple, just kind of a name I picked out for it. And you can double click the swatch, and in Illustrator you have access to all this information right here to the right. So we have our hex code number, which is great for digital stuff and website design. We have our CMYK for printing, and we have our RGB colors. So you're just kind of copying that down into these columns so you have a little bit more of a polished look, like you've really spent the time picking out these colors. They were not chosen at random. We have orange rust. And I also am starting to explore gradient options for that added effect. And I'm very scared to use gradients that are very strong because it can look dated very quickly. So I have this very smooth gradient. And if you look at the gradient right here, let me go ahead and bring it out. You'll notice it's all in the same color family. We have a dark, medium, and lighter hues of purple, but they're all in the same same color family. And it makes it a very smooth, subtle gradient. It's not harsh. It's not two totally different colors put together that can look dated very quickly. So I wanted to also provide some gradient options to add a little bit of pizzazz. So right here, I have this as a gradient. Took my gradient tool, just tried to find a nice, long, extended gradient to really kind of give it a little more of a shine and a 3D look. Of course, we're always going to have a single color option available to the client if they need something flat and single color for printing. So this is where adapting it and showing different colors is really important. How does it look on this purple gradient background? Since this is our color palette now, we're going to work with just these colors. How does it look on a purple background? We reverse out this with orange. We keep that orange and we have this be white. Also, alternative backgrounds, maybe we want to have that bright orange be a part of a background for the logo and a part of the brand. So this is when you're doing the logo design process, and when you pick out colors, it's almost impossible to avoid the branding process. There's going to be some branding in anything you do logo design, especially when you talk about color. So this is a little bit of the branding part. Even if you're not tasked with doing the branding, it's impossible to do a logo without thinking about branding. It's a part of what it is, what you do. So we have 3 different environments the logo can exist on: darker environments and lighter environments, and present this to the client. I would not move on to the next stage until you have client approval on color, because clients can be the pickiest about color. Let me tell you, they will want you to explore color combinations that are just not fitting with the brand, and you have to give them those options. You have to work with the client. If the client requests blue and gray, you're going to need to give them a version that's blue and gray. And hopefully they'll see that and realize the choices that you chose as an expert designer will be the way to go. But it's up to the client. Whatever they choose is the colors you need to work with.